Hurst. Wines.
Here.
Cox. Millerich.
Here.
Hartraft.
Here.
Robler.
Here.
Steele.
Here.
Dick.
Here.
Husan.
I'm here. So, in your packet, very small packet this month, which is nice. But in your packet there is a draft of the minutes from the July 7th meeting. If everyone has taken a look or could take a quick look and make the appropriate motion. I move we approve.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right. Moving forward, I don't believe there are public hearings and presentations today. Public comment on non-agenda items. Let's see, 1, 2. I think we're going to be good, but I'll read it anyway. Any person wishing to address the Planning Commission on non-agenda items only are asked to state their name and address for the record, limit their comments to 5 or 10 minutes if representing a group. Opportunity will be given to address the Planning Commission on agenda items when they are called on the agenda. Is there anyone wishing to speak to the Commission on non-agenda items? Seeing the mad rush of people, we're moving on. Communications, I see none on the list. Unfinished business. Letter A, PC-07A-25. This is the 210 Oak Street conditional rezoning request.
All right, so you already previously, as the Planning Commission, held a public hearing on this rezoning. What's in front of you tonight is some conditions that the applicant volunteered as part of their rezoning. As you may recall, they're proposing to change it from their single-family R3 to a R4 multiple-family zoning district. One of the reasons the applicant had mentioned that they would like to see that is to change its non-conforming use status. So right now it is utilized as a multi-dwelling unit, and so by switching it to a different zoning district, they would be considered a conditional use, and that helps them with mortgage changes and things of that nature in keeping that asset. And so the applicant has provided in their condition that they're proposing that they would maintain it being a triplex. No other uses in R4 would be allowed except for what they already can do. So if they wanted to change it to be a single family home, they would be able to change it to that single family home, a duplex or triplex. The property owner has the right as part of that covenant of that property for anything that's already allowed under that R3 zoning district, and ensure that if anything were to be destroyed, that can be rebuilt for that triplex, duplex, or single family home. So that is their condition that they provided in writing as part of our packet to go over. Specifically, as noted in the staff review letter, the 4 standards associated with our rezoning decision, we have to find all of these approval standards in the affirmative to justify an approval, while specifically mentioning which standard doesn't need to justify denial. So the first standard is talking about the rezoning is consistent with the goals, policies of the future land use master plan, is compatible with all potential uses in that zoning district to maintain the surrounding area, land uses, zoning districts, the environment, density, property values. The third standard is public utilities and services, and having enough for the proposed rezoning to sufficiently handle public safety as well as drainage or roads. The last standard is that the proposed rezoning would be equal or better suited for the use in that area under than its current zoning district. So when you're considering that motion for approval, that would be something to consider in the sample or in the provided staff memo. There is a sample motion that you can utilize. And otherwise, I believe the applicant is here tonight, so if you had any further questions. But since you've already previously held the public hearing, I tried to keep it more concise. All right.
So, are there any questions for the applicant? not here last month, I apologize. I was working some crazy shift, but now I'm back on day shift, so hopefully I'll be here for the duration, but we'll see. I will tell. So no questions for the applicant? Any discussion?
I mean, I think this, based on what we discussed last month, I think this meets all the concerns from what I can tell. So, I'm totally comfortable with it.
I would agree. Further discussion? Somebody want to make a motion?
Well, you want me to read the whole thing?
Yes, please.
All right. I move that with regard to the condition, let's see, how do I do this much template? With regard to the conditional request submitted by property owner Deborah Cameron to rezone 210 Oak Street from the R3 Single Family Residential District to R4 Multiple Family Residential District, and in consideration of the condition voluntarily offered by the applicant in her letter dated 2020, well, dated July 24th, 2025. I move to forward a recommendation of approval to the City Council upon finding that the conditional rezoning request does satisfy the review standards, section 154.030E of the City of Linden zoning ordinance. Specifically, I mean, can I just say all A through D?
Second. All right. I don't think there's any further discussion. We should probably do a roll call just in case.
Hartranft,
Yes.
Hurst,
Yes.
Steele,
Yes.
Kusan,
Yes.
Wines,
Yes.
Dick,
No.
Robler,
Yes.
Millerich.
Yes. All right. Thank you. Thank you for coming in.
Ready to go?
Yeah. You are free to go.
Have a good evening.
Thank you, you do the same. All right. On to unfinished business. Letter B, PC-06A-25, the site and exterior lighting standards discussion.
All right, so the agenda prepared by Adam is in front of you. We're not looking for action tonight, we're looking for input tonight on the drafted language. Based on some commentary from the public, the planning commission was willing to make a text amendment to review our exterior lighting requirements to see if there's any modifications that we can consider in which to provide a better quality of life for those within our community. So as noted in that review letter, we added a new purpose statement. We added new specific definitions associated with the lighting, so glare, light trespassing, and shielding. We clarified some of the different lighting requirements regarding the enforcement officer to verify compliance on site. There's the maximum ground illumination levels within a site. Talked about along the property line, so tried to make that a little bit more simple in comparison to other communities. We added some new language regarding lighting in commercial and industrial districts, specifically asking that they're turned off during hours that they're not operating. So 2 in the morning, you will see less lights. You'd still see security lights, or if they wanted it near their building where a door access is, I'm pretty sure that's required by building code, but otherwise you'd see lesser lights is the current policy that's encouraged. And then also looking at new exemptions for those rules specifically, so we added like sports fields or something like that. So if this high school football stadium, we're not talking about regulating them as an operator. With that, do you want to go page by page? If there's any comments or commentary?
You guys want to go page by page? I think it's pretty self-explanatory. I think we could just
Probably scroll through, and if there's a question, just bring it up. So, any questions or concerns on page 1? John's thinking.
Yeah, let me interject if I may have the mic for a moment. So I don't have a hard copy, I don't have a computer with me, I certainly can't read that screen 30 feet away. I have one, but I did review it at home. One concern that I have, which is, I think, insufferably specific, but it's a real thing to me, is I would like a comment from Wade Trim on this condition. If you have a property which borders the river, then you have certain rights which are known as riparian rights. And that is that regards your responsibilities and rights to the water's edge, which is part of your property. If a light source is on the other side of that water's edge, so you have the riparian rights of homeowner A versus homeowner B, what role does the state-owned waterway between the two borders of riparian influence take? Do I have the right as a homeowner on one side of that exchange to object or enforce, or what are my responsibilities as a homeowner regarding the influence of light from my home to someone on the other side crossing that boundary? Would you care to comment?
Sure. I'm not as familiar with your property lines associated with, I'm assuming you're talking about by the mill
mill
pond
pond,
and the,
yeah.
and so correct me if I'm wrong, but one of those things is that the property lines do intersect somewhere in that water body, is that correct?
Well, I'm a little hazy on riparian rights.
Okay, 'cause-
I've heard different versions.
Sure, because I think one of the things is that nuisances from a zoning standpoint are done at the property line. And so, as you mentioned, there are the different water rights associated with that, but you can also go default to property lines. And most water bodies, you're somewhere in the middle where those are. And so we could still measure a nuisance from where that property line is, which is where our compliance currently is written from. So in the same vein, but we'd address it slightly different, so then we don't get stuck in the state requirements and looking at their interpretation. The current language doesn't specifically talk about single-family homes and talking about our inspection and violation of those. We're really focusing more on the multiple family, the commercial and industrial properties. So if we wanted to explore that, some communities do have exterior lighting requirements for residential. Just keep in mind, with it being in the zoning ordinance, it's everything that's existing is a nonconformity, and so they have to trigger that. And then, do residents have the political will to be regulated what fixtures they put on their house? That's the other daunting part of that discussion.
So the bottom line is that light traveling over the waterway is not influenced by the ownership of the waterway itself. It really is only regarding the crossing of the border, which in theory is the midpoint
Right.
of that common waterway.
Right.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead. Yeah, I'm done.
You good?
Yep.
No, that covers page 1, unless anybody else has anything, right? I'm just making sure we're on the same page, so that covers the late trespass, so that's basically the bullet point that you were looking at, right? So, all right, so page 2, are there any questions or concerns with page 2? It's best to go through it all right now.
I have one question. So to clarify, some of these changes, it looks like, for example, on item 4, says outdoor lighting fixtures not used for security purposes hereafter installed within these different districts shall be turned off. So would this only apply then? Would all of these only apply to lighting moving forward? Or is the city looking at a situation where business A is being told now, or if this were to pass the planning commission, city council, all that, are told they have to go and then retroactively change all their fixtures if they're not in compliance? Or how would that?
That's something we're reviewing, so it is a
Okay.
question to our municipal attorney regarding, do we do a police power ordinance, which would be effective immediately, or we keep it in the zoning districts, or in the zoning ordinance, and so we're still waiting to evaluate that with the municipal attorney, but that is something we'll review.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I thought that at one point we talked about this being mainly get the language in, educate the business owners, and let them see the damage that all of this, unneeded light is doing, and let them try to police it themselves at the beginning, and then if we have to step in, we can. Being we, the city, and that's the way that I took it, so.
I like that idea.
I thought that that's how it was stated to start this out and get this going, more of an educational thing, and I do believe is the businesses are educating and starting to turn stuff off. I think that the homeowners and residents will also see that. Like, hey, this is kind of nice having it a little darker in town, and I can see the stars instead of having to drive 5 miles outside of town, and all of that. So that's the way that I took it. So if it has changed, then
I believe that's still the city's approach. So with it being a zoning ordinance, it would take effect for every development after this.
yeah.
And sorry.
No, go ahead.
Do you know if, and I guess this probably would have been easier to ask Adam for over the long term. I know, like what Dan was saying, we had talked, looking back, we had talked about like even doing things like brochures or information going out to residents. I think we'd seen some examples from, I know Ann Arbor was one of them, I think, but there were some others. But very simple explanations of, hey, this isn't what you have to do, or this happens to you, but instead, hey, here's why it actually would benefit you. It costs you less money, be more pleasant, and you could still be assured with your concern about safety and, on your front porch and whatnot. But that part I think I agree that the education part's critical. I think that's where you're gonna win people over and get people to buy in on it.
All right, so nothing on page 2. Nothing else on page 2. Anything on page 3? Really not a whole lot of language change on page 3. And page 4 is page 4. So, is everybody good with moving forward, and they can talk to the attorney and do what we have to do, and if it turns into the educational program that we think it's going to, then obviously it'll go to council and everybody else will approve it and whatever. But I'm sure the newsletter and website and social media platforms will all be used to get the word out there. So somebody
Mr.
with
Chair.
somebody with a higher pay scale than me will figure that out. Go ahead.
We need to decide if we want to move this forward, I guess we need to decide if we would like the staff to schedule a public hearing for our next meeting.
I believe that is the next step. So, is that the next step? Schedule a public hearing to review this, or?
Yes, but we're not sure when our attorney and that
So-
conversation can take place, so since there are no other changes proposed tonight, whenever we get that, we would then put it on the next available agenda. But I don't wanna put a date on it, cause I don't know when that would
It
happen.
makes sense to me. Just take your time.
Okay,
If there's nothing else on the agenda, then we can just push it off till there's something else on the agenda. It's all good. All right, so thank you for that. Any new business? Good there. Commissioner and comments and reports. We'll start at this end since you guys are a little more active.
I would like to ask the city to give us a summary of the status of the mill.
So I think the last time commission, meeting, I updated you guys that, it was, public hearing or under, public notice from the state of Michigan for the Eagle permits that were necessary for the cofferdam. That public, posting has been completed. We did not receive any comments. We've got to look at or consider, they call it a reconnaissance survey. Reference the potential for an endangered mussel that could potentially live in the riverbed in that area. So if the reconnaissance survey shows that there's a specific type of mussel that's in the waters, and there would just need to be a relocation of them. So there's not potential for damaging. So the cofferdam is necessary in order to do the structural work on the foundation, and so in the works. And then we've just a council, I think actually August 11th work session will be getting an update from Cunningham Limp on the proposals that were submitted to move the project forward. So we're hoping at the end of August we'll have awards, council be able to act on at the regular meeting in August on awarding a bid to move the project forward. So we're getting closer. And then you guys all know, I think you guys all know that the library is going back in one floor, the historical society is going back in one floor as well. And then the other floor, we'll have a flex space, and then we'll be actively advertising for a lease, the other available, the third floor, so.
Will that be advertised as one space or?
The third level, it'll just be as one space. It'll be advertised as just the entire level for the third floor.
Has anyone from the city in any official role ever made personal contact with the list of RFI, requests for RFP recipients as to why they did not respond? Is there been any follow-up?
You mean for the economic, so the redevelopment of it or the occupancy of it?
Yeah.
Those proposals? No, we didn't. We had, I mean, there was a list of people who pulled those proposals, but we did not make contact with those individuals. Some voluntarily, had communicated that just, with the current climate and things like that, they just, didn't feel that it was ready for them to make, submit a proposal. But we did receive the two, one from Shiawassee River Shuttle and then one from the Historical Society.
And how many went out all told?
Good question. I don't know how many pulled the bid. We put it on Mitten or BidNet.
Okay.
So
Was that tracked? We have a record of the people who
We do.
downloaded?
we do have a record.
I'd like to suggest that as much as we're moving forward, that some specific energy be given to finding out why we don't even have a single serious proposal to turn our white elephant into a much better dressed white elephant. And very, very important to this whole process was the idea of getting some cash flow through that building. And I don't think we're any closer to that than we were before. I think we should be trying pretty hard to find out why. That's all I have.
I have a question about Alpine, and they're now going through a second renovations since we approved the first one, where they basically moved out the building to the very edge of the parking lot, and they continue to put pallets and plant holders and all these other things in the walkway.
It's still encroaching in the road at different times, okay.
All of those things are making it very difficult for people to get in and out of the building without putting themselves at risk, and that renovation was probably, what, 4 years ago? Maybe 5?
At least.
And I brought this up numerous times to try to find out why it's not being policed, because part of us approving that was that they would not put anything for sale in front of that, the approach to the front of the building, because they needed a walking area so people could walk against the building and be somewhat safe. But they continue to put pallets and racks of different things out there for sale. They have that little cubby part that's kind of set back. They can easily put up some cameras and use that setback for that, for sale items or whatever, and not put our community at risk, is what I think. And that's coming from me and the first responder part of me also.
I know when you brought it up before, Adam did pull their site plan and research it. He did have several conversations with the owners as well, so I can go back and.
If we could, just keep it on the radar, because I feel that every now and
You
again they
mentioned though that
forget.
they don't have the ability to sell.
Well, I think they could sell, but they don't need to put stuff right at the doorway. They could use the
Okay,
little setback.
I thought you meant, I'm sorry, I just wanted to clarify. I thought
Yeah.
you meant that in their site plan, they didn't have the ability to
Oh,
for
no,
outdoor sales. but-
No,
okay,
they can sell items out there all day long. They just,
It's just
I don't know if they want them closer to the door for theft or easy transportation of getting it inside the building or whatever, but, I think for them to make a couple extra dollars and, at the risk of safety is, not very smart. So if we could just keep an eye out, please. Anything else on this side? All right. It is 7:28, and I will adjourn the meeting. Thank you all.